So we're just going to go ahead and start. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I don't know if it's morning, evening, or afternoon where you are, but I really do appreciate you taking the time to learn about what Illinois Institute of Technology is doing for you as incoming admitted students. And so I think that while we go through this presentation today, just some housekeeping rules. It's not necessary for you guys to have your video on. That is up to you. And also we're actually going to ask you just to remain on mute and just use the chat function should you have any questions. Can you guys hear me? Can someone give me a thumbs up if the sound is okay? Yep, okay, I'm hearing a few yep, so thank you so much. We'll just go ahead. We all know that you are all maybe international students from around the world, so thank you so much for joining us now. If we go to the next slide, we actually want to take this time to introduce yourselves. I'm Samantha Deleon. I'm the Associate Director for International Enrollment. I work with students at the graduate and undergraduate levels at the university. And in addition to that, I am joined by my colleague here. Kemi, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, that'd be great. You're on mute. You're all good, Kemi. We can hear you. Want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Good morning from Chicago. Good afternoon. Good evening from wherever you are in the world. My name is Kemi Onajole. I am the director of the International Center and also the PDSO for Illinois Institute of Technology. We work with all of our international students when they arrive on campus. We are the office that gives you immigration advice and support when you are on campus. We're also the office that students come to for CPT and OPT and all that fun stuff that I am going to talk about a little bit later. So thank you so much again for joining us today. I'll be back shortly to talk after Sam's section. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you so much. So in regards to our next slide, we're actually just wanting to tell you, congratulations on your admission. I think many of you guys have already heard that you have been admitted to the university. Some of you guys are actually maybe, I believe, still even waiting for a decision. But at the same time, we're just going to talk to you within this presentation about how COVID-19 has updated what the university is doing. Essentially, what we're doing is making sure that we have that platform for you to feel comfortable, to feel confident that you are making the right choice to Illinois Tech. And so if we go to our next slide, this is our agenda today. We're going to be talking a lot about what's going on campus, the updates directly from the PDSO, so Kemi, and she'll be talking about what our current students are doing in addition to how it's going to impact you as an incoming student. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about the next steps in regards to what you need to do in order to save and ensure your spot for the upcoming fall term. And so the next slide, actually the next two slides that we go to, is just our COVID updates. As we know, if we go to that next slide, everything changes, from this, actually from our one presentation that we had last Thursday to even now, we have new updates for you. Again, we want to be flexible as an institution. We want to have you feel confident again that your decision is the right decision. And we as an institution have put in place some of the things that are actually going to be helpful for you to make your decisions to come. And so, while I share that information, as I keep saying, things are changing in the state of Illinois, in the nation. So we just want to make sure that what we are doing aligns with our Center for Disease Control here in the United States, that we are following things that the state of Illinois, the city of Chicago have been putting in place. So currently we're sheltering in place. So if you want some updates in regards to what's happening, feel free to use that QR code, and that's going to lead you directly to our iit.edu/COVID-19 updates from the university. All of that information is coming directly from our administration. And so again, it makes sense that you might want to know what the university is doing, and we'll be sure to address some of those questions. Again, use that chat box function. If we don't get to everything within the chat, we'll go ahead and connect with you after as well. I have some of our team members on there who are actually answering a few of the frequently asked questions. So they'll be able to like populate some of those questions for us at the end. Let's go ahead to the next slide though. And so this is essentially where Kemi is going to give us the updates from the International Center. So I'm going to hand it off to Kemi for right now.
All right, everyone. So in this section, I am going to talk about a little bit about the impact of COVID-19 on our campus at the moment, specifically on the impact to our international students. And then I'll talk about fall 2020, what that would look like. So if I can get the next slide, please. All right. So like Sam said, this is a time that the world has probably never experienced something like this before. This is the first time where something this huge is happening to our world, and we are trying to do our best to adapt to all the changes as they're happening rapidly. About a month ago, about maybe 5-6 weeks ago, we had to pull all our classes online. So every one of our classes here for our current domestic and international students, excuse me, went online. So classes are currently being taught online. Students will take their exams at the end of the semester online as well. Unfortunately, we've also had some of our international students lose summer internships and opportunities that they had, lined up for the summer. However, I'm happy to say that as this situation is evolving, employers are also taking a look at, can these internships be done virtually? Can they be done remotely? And they're having those conversations with our students so that summer 2020, if you have a summer internship and you're an international student, you can still partake in your internship. Last but not least, we have a lot of students that go home or, they go abroad, they go somewhere for the summer semester. And international travel has been really, really, really impacted significantly due to this pandemic. We have a lot of our students who had planned to go home. They'll be here in the US. IIT Illinois Tech is doing its best to help look for accommodation, excuse me, or, give discounted rates or something for students who are here for the summer who are not able to go home. So that's just a little bit about what has happened to our our international student population right now. In the next slide, please, I am going to talk about fall 2020. And I know that's why all of you, most of you are here. And that's what you want to hear about this morning, at least it's morning over here. So the first question that I have here is, what happens if my program is only offering online courses this fall semester, or if travel to the US is not possible? So the first thing that I am going to repeat again is that this situation is very fluid. It is changing by the minute. As of right now, our summer and fall 2020 semesters are not canceled. If anything, they will take place online, meaning that you are still able to enroll in your program and take your classes online. All right? You may take any number of credits you want. You can take 9 credits if you are a graduate student. And if you want to take 12 credits as an undergraduate student, you may do so. However, if you are taking classes online, you are not required to maintain any amount of credits. It is just up to you. So if you want to take one class, which is 3 credits, you can do that. The next question is, how would all the online classes, how will they be delivered? Would the instruction be happening at the same time that I'm watching it, or be happening later? Will I be able to interact with faculty online? So I am happy to tell you that course delivery and format will depend on your academic department. Classes will have lectures that will be recorded online. There will be some live online classes, using Blackboard as well, but they will be recorded so that depending on your time zone or where you are in the world, once you get online and you go on your portal and you go to Blackboard, you would have access to these classes that have been recorded. I am also happy to let you know that our faculty members and our advisors will be available to students during designated office hours, but most importantly, they will be available via email. So you can ask your questions, state your name, your student ID number, and ask your questions, and they will still be able to assist you with any questions that you may have. All right, next slide, please. All right. The next question is, when would I be able to start my program physically in the US? And I think this, in the US, we call it like the big elephant in the room question, right? This is what a lot of you have planned for, you have hoped for, to be here in Chicago and take your classes. At this point, I mean, today's just, the end of April. We don't know what's gonna happen a month from now. We're hopeful that even if classes are offered online for the fall semester, we're hopeful that the current situation would be much better, so that if you do your classes online for fall, you could be here in Chicago for the spring 2021 semester. I think the best wonderful case scenario would be that everything goes back to some sort of normal very soon, and embassies reopen and you can get visas and you can come to the US. But we don't know if that will happen yet. We have no indication yet when embassies will reopen. So at this point, what we can plan for and what we can offer is that you take your classes online for the fall semester and then plan to spend the winter with us in January of 2021. The next question, if I register for online classes for fall 2020, and then I get an F1 or J1 visa, can I switch from online to in-person? That is, can I come to the US? Again, we understand that this pandemic is very fluid. It is ever changing. Again, so this is just the end of April. We're going to be flexible as possible. This semester, as an institution, as a department, all across our school, we are going to be as flexible as possible. If you want to switch from online to taking your classes live, you would need to be here on campus by the add drop deadline. So at every university, there's what's called an add drop deadline. That's the deadline in which you may add or drop a class to your schedule. So the add drop deadline for the fall semester is the 5th of September 2020, all right? The 5th of September 2020. So if you are able to obtain a visa stamp and come to the US, it will have to happen by the 5th of September 2020. All right, next slide, please. All right, travel to the US. Again, the next question is, when can I come to the US? I will repeat the same thing that I have said earlier, that this current situation is very fluid, it's ever changing. So it's very hard for us to predict when international travel would be available again, especially from around the world. However, we implore you, like my colleague said earlier, we do have a dedicated COVID-19 webpage on our website that we want you to check frequently. We update that website on a weekly basis. As we get updated information, we update it. So if the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and the US Department of State, if they relax things and they begin to allow individuals to get visas and travel around the world, we would welcome you to the US at that time, as long as it's around that add drop deadline that I mentioned in the previous slide. If you could go to the next slide, please. All right, so I know that I've started seeing a lot of questions about CPT and OPT. Okay, so let me explain this, and I hope that it will be clear for everyone. So the question is, when will I be able to apply for curricular practical training and optional practical training? I am going to pause for a second and explain what those two things are. Curricular practical training, CPT, allows you to work in your field of study when you are still pursuing your program, okay? Optional practical training allows you to work in the US after you have finished your academic program, as long as you're working in your field of study. So back to the question, when will I be able to apply for CPT and OPT? If the current pandemic continues and you are not able to be here in the fall semester, you would be eligible to apply for, and then you come in spring. So let's say you come in January of 2021, you would only be able to apply for CPT at the end of summer 2021, provided that you are enrolled full-time for the spring and summer 2021 semesters. All right, so best case scenario, everything gets better and you're able to come in fall. Great, that changes things. However, if things don't get better and travel is restricted and things start getting better in January, you would then be eligible, again, depending on your academic program, for CPT at the end of summer 2021. The end of summer 2021, I want to say, is like mid-August 2021. That is when you will be eligible to apply for CPT. OPT is at the end of your academic program. All right, so whenever it is that you are done with your bachelor's, master's, PhD program, that is when you become eligible to apply for optional practical training. And we do have a lot of information about that on the International Center website. Next slide, please. Okay, so I am wrapping up this section. What if I am currently in the US right now in an F1 or J1 status, and let's say you are at a different institution? We want to ask you to please contact your admission office. So that could be your undergraduate admission office or the grad admission office, so that they can discuss with you your eligibility to transfer your CVIS record from that school to Illinois Tech. All right, so I am wrapping up my section here, and I'm gonna turn things over to Sam. I think we'll have a little bit of time for questions and answer later on, so I will still be here. But at this point, I am going to turn things over back to Sam. Next slide for Sam, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kemi, for that information. Just so you know, everyone, I'm kind of following some of your chat messages. Some of our team members that are on currently are actually answering some of your questions. If they happen to be a little bit more specific, feel free to reach out to whether it's a grad office or the undergrad office. But really, my goal here is really to provide that information and that insight into some of the things that you're asking currently right now, which include things like, when is the deadline and what happens when I defer? And so if we go to that next slide, it actually gives you the deadlines if you are an undergrad and a graduate student. So for students here who are undergrad, I'm going to start with you first. We actually do have that intent to enroll deadline of May 1st. It's a national deadline in the United States that if you are an undergrad student, we actually do want to, have you say, I'm coming to Illinois Tech so we can save you a spot for the upcoming fall term. Our last day to submit financial support for undergraduate student is July 1st. And so what we're asking for you at this point is within the next few days, if you are that undergrad student, to submit that intent to enroll, and I'll show you where you can find that on the website. And then also make sure that you connect with your bank, your financial institution, if you are receiving a government sponsorship, to get that information and actually submit that to us so then we can issue you an I-20. And so at the graduate level, I did see a lot of questions from students saying, when is that last day to submit financial support information deadlines? I will say things keep changing, and we really want to be responsive and reflect on what is actually convenient as well for you. At the university for graduate students, our deadline to submit financial statements is July 17th. So it's April 28th. You have some time to do that. I think a lot of our graduate students, though, are really intrigued and interested in knowing what types of classes they're going to be taking next, right? You're looking forward to going online and taking courses. And so I think what's really interesting and important for all of you guys to know right now is that you actually have your app tracker. You can see who your academic advisor is. The academic advisors want to engage and want to talk to you, but I think really what it comes down to is you want to make sure that your financial statements have been submitted to us. We can take bank statements. Usually they have to be within 6 months of when you are submitting all of your documents to us. And so we do request that you do get some type of documentation from your banks. You can also get statements that say how much is in there. They need to be fluid funds. So you can't bring us something that says, this is how much money I have in stocks or bonds. They need to be fluid cash. In addition to that, for graduate, our intent to enroll becomes available after we receive your financial documents. So what does that mean? In order for you to actually say, I'm coming to Illinois Tech, you're going to have to submit all of your financial statements to us at the university. Because essentially what we're looking at is we as a university still have planned August 17th for our SOAR, which stands for our Student Orientation, Advising, and Registration. As of right now, again, it's April 28th, our university is still open, and our expectation is that we will be functioning as a university starting in August. So we want to make sure that we have everything for you to then come to the university. So let's get to that next slide because it's actually going to show information about your portal. I don't know if any of you guys here, there's about 200 of you who have actually gone on to the my.iit.edu portal. I hope that you've already gone to this website, explored a little bit about what is required of you as a student. I think Kemi laid it out really, really well in terms of what our options are for graduate, for undergrad students. Again, as of today, our university is still open, but at the university, our administration has really put into contingency plans of what you could potentially do. And so what I mean by that is, again, you have that option for online courses. You have the option to defer. All of these things have been put in place so that we are flexible for you as a student. But when you go onto the my.iit.edu portal, what you're telling us as a university, you're saying, save my spot because I really want to come to Illinois Tech. And because of that, we want to work with you. We want to make sure that you have all of the information that you can actually start registering for classes, that you can start talking to your academic advisors so they know that you are really serious about coming to the university. Again, what it signifies to us as an institution is I'm coming despite me starting online. I know that Illinois Tech is where I want to get my degree. So let's go to that next slide because I think this is really important for all of you currently here. All of the students who do end up going to the my.iit.edu portal, just make sure that you know that the deposit can be submitted through this website. The website will then allow you to pay for, save that spot is really what it is. It's your intent to enroll, it's depositing to our school. And I think that there are a little bit of differences at the grad and undergrad level. And so I just want to make sure that you kind of know that difference. But again, if you do go to that my.iit.edu website, it is going to be, the password is your date of birth, the month first, the days, and then the last 4 digits of your banner ID. So your university ID. It's your A number, and that number can actually be found on your app tracker. If you have issues and you can't find it, let us know and we'll be able to help you out with that. So let's get to the next slide in terms of depositing. Because I think that a lot of students have been asking a few questions on when's that deposit deadline. I'm definitely going to get there. But in terms of your final steps for enrollment, you can contact your academic advisor, whether you're a grad or undergraduate student. But it's really important that you submit a deposit because, again, what it signifies to us is that you're serious in coming to our institution. In regards to that, I know at the undergraduate level, we definitely want to work with you. So after you submit that tuition deposit, you'll receive an email to provide you the name and contact information of your academic advisor. At the graduate level, though, it's actually on that app tracker, so you can actually connect with them, kind of ask those questions on what your expectation would be. Now, a lot of students are like, hey, I'm trying to register and log in. If you are already trying to log in and try to register for classes, guess what? You can't do that unless you actually have a PIN number. So that PIN number is actually held by the academic advisor in order for you to register for classes. And so this is why it's kind of like a one step, pay the deposit. And just so you know, that tuition deposit goes towards your tuition. And so, maybe you're paying that $300 deposit, or if you're in the Stewart School of Business at the graduate level, it's a $500 deposit, but that money goes towards your education. So it's not like we're taking the money and you're going to have to pay in addition. That actually just gets applied. So you don't actually have to pay for it. You'll actually have a reduction within your tuition. So just letting you know that this is actually something that's going towards your education at the university. In addition to that, there are questions of what if my advisor has not responded to me? Sometimes this happens at the grad level, sometimes this happens at the undergrad level. Connect with our Office of Admissions. Speak with one of your enrollment advisors or your guidance, your counselor at the university. Will be able to connect with your advisor. I think that there's a lot of changes within our institution. A lot of our faculty are definitely teaching online, but we are there for you. We want to make sure that you hear from us and that we can help you out in regards to your next steps at the university. So if we go to our next slide, this actually kind of talks about how you're actually going to register for classes. This is really important for any one of our students here right now, because this is essentially where you've paid your deposit, now you're ready to register for classes, so you know which courses you're going to be taking. And in regards to that, what's really important is that you access the my.iit.edu portal so you can grab this information. And then that way, you can actually say, I'm going to be taking computer science 400 in the fall, or I'm going to be taking an information technology management course. Whatever it is, let's work with you so we can organize what it's going to be like for your education at the university. So if you're that graduate student, whether you're a professional master's or a master's of science student to maybe an undergrad student, our goal is for you to graduate within that 4-year or maybe the 2 years. So let's work with you so you can identify which courses you might be taking online, maybe in the fall, or if you are coming to campus, what you'd be taking on campus. So our next slide is actually helpful hints for you. Now, I know that I've actually seen a number of students asking questions in regards to, well, what if my visa is denied? Essentially, what we always tell our students is you never want to give that consular officer a reason for them to say no to you. So this is where I recommend you are over preparing for your interview, that you are practicing, that you know what to say, but really what it comes down to is that you are confident and you are comfortable within that interview telling that consular officer why you're coming to Illinois Institute of Technology. I saw a question there saying, like, what if I'm denied? Well, again, this is really where it comes back to you. We aren't sitting in that room with you when you are being interviewed, but you definitely want to tell that consular officer that I'm going to be coming to Illinois Institute of Technology. My goal is to earn that master's degree and return back to the country. Right? I think that's really, really important for you. Actually, if we go back a little bit more, sorry, there's a few things. Bring your I-20, bring your passport copy, copies of your transcripts, test scores, bank statements, diplomas, anything and everything, so that if they ask you a question of how are you prepared to study in the United States, you have all of that. Again, I believe when it comes to some of these interviews, some students have had 30 seconds, some of them have had 2 minutes. Whatever that time is for you, make sure though that you are prepared to answer those questions coming at you. This is just a side story I do want to share with you, because I know that this was a student who actually was receiving funding from her uncle. And so, the consular officer then asked, so if you're receiving money from your uncle, does your uncle have any children? And, that student said, yeah, my uncle has actually 3 children. And the consular officer said, well, if you are actually getting your funding from your uncle, who is going to be able to pay for your cousins, so your 3 other cousins. If you're not able to answer those types of questions, those are all automatically red flags to the consular officer. So be confident on where your money is coming from. Make sure you have all of your information. Make sure that you are honest and truthful within that interview, and make sure that your point is across, that you are coming to the United States and you're going to return after your education. That is really, really critical. Again, we never want to give them a reason for them to say no to you. And so because of that, I think I've actually seen a few questions of like, what if my visa is denied? Don't give them a reason to have them deny you. And again, that's why we say, be honest, dress your best. It is an interview overall. And again, if you have 30 seconds to impress that consular officer to give you that student visa, you want to make sure that you are doing the right things within that interview. So let's go ahead to that next slide, because I think I'm going to give you just the reminders in terms of what's going on at the university. So I know that we've gotten a lot of questions about what the deadlines are. So if you are an undergraduate student, we're going to pause on the slide for a little bit, take a screenshot of it, do what you need to do. Again, May 1st is that national deposit date. We have a $300 deposit that is refundable for undergraduate students. And just so you know, that money gets pushed towards into your tuition. So it's not money that we're taking and you're not paying an addition, let's say to the tuition in the fall, that actually gets applied to your tuition. The next thing is the last day to submit financial affidavit of support. So that's information that shows to us that you have funds in your account that you can pay for your education. Again, a reminder, they need to be liquid, so they can't be a stock, they can't be a bond, they can't be, but my family has pineapples and that we at the, on our pineapple plantation make X amount of money. It needs to be a liquid fund. That's just a reminder, just so you kind of keep that in your head. Again, just so you remember, we have that online option to start in the fall of 2020, and there is that option to defer in the spring of 2021. Let's go to the next slide, because I'm seeing a lot of graduate students here as well. And our next slide actually shows what graduate students are doing here. So the last day to submit a financial statement is July 17th. It works a little different than undergrad, but one of the things that we are asking you to do is to submit your financial statement so we can create that I-20 for you. We actually have a few of our colleagues in the room who are the DSOs. We process that for you. We want to make sure that you have that I-20. Again, things keep continuously changing across the world. Consulates, we're hearing, are opening as early as July 17th. Some of them we hear are opening in November. Again, the best way for you to really be ready for that interview is to have your financial statement submitted to us so you can have that I-20. Why that I-20 is so important is because that I-20 and that CVIS ID number, those are the things that you're going to be taking with you to the US Embassy or consulate in your country. Again, our goal is that our students at Illinois Institute of Technology have those first visa interview spots as soon as the embassies open and the consulates open. So by you not submitting stuff like your financial statement or submitting your intent to enroll, you're only delaying your spot at the university. And so again, things keep changing, but as of right now, as of April 28th, this is at least the information that is being shared specifically with us. In regards to the intent to enrolls, just so you know, it's a $300 deposit to the university. And then if you are in the Stewart School of Business, it is $500. Just keep in mind though, that again, that money gets applied towards your tuition. So if you do start online for the fall term, you will actually have that money put towards your education at the university. Similar to undergrad though, you have that online option to start in the fall of 2020, and then you have the option to defer in the spring of 2021. Now, students have been asking, well, why should I go online? Is there benefits to going online as opposed to deferring? This all comes back to you as a student now. Some students are really interested in making sure that they can start their education and they can graduate within that 2-year span if they are a graduate student, and even for undergrad students at 4-year term. So I think what really is helpful for students is that you can actually say, hey, I know that I'm coming to Illinois Tech. I'm going to start my degree in the fall online, and I'm going to go to campus in the spring. Let's work with you and let's try to figure something out that makes sense for you as a student. I saw a question in the chat that says, so when is the deadline to deposit for graduate students? This is essentially where it comes back to students who are wanting to come to the university. You have to submit your financial statements. You can do that as soon as today, as long as you have all of the information. So what we mean by that is, right now, you can submit your your financial statements. Once we get those financial statements, we'll go ahead and your intent to enroll button on your app tracker will turn on, and you'll be able to submit your deposit to the university. So in regards to what you're kind of asking within that chat box here, yes, you have the option to start in the fall, or you can defer. But at the same time too, that all comes back to you, and we want to work with you on that. So our next slides really come down to you and your questions. And so this is essentially where I can only follow so many of your questions. And so I'm going to actually ask, some of my colleagues, maybe Claire and Ashonda, some of the frequently asked questions that you have seen. For Kemi and myself, what can we answer for you? So Kemi, if you want to jump back on, turn your mic on, so then that way we can answer some of the questions for our students.
Hey Sam, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Claire.
So I saw a lot of students really want a specific date for when they have to decide if they want to defer to fall, or when they should submit the deposit. Because I know you guys said, as soon as possible, but it sounds like a lot of students really want a specific date for when they have to make that decision.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that, Claire. If you really want a specific date, if you already have your information, hang on just one second. I'm going to actually, I think Kemi is on the call and she's trying to unmute herself as well. Sorry. So in regards to some of you guys who are asking about when can you as a student, when is that date? I get it. It's a apply as soon as possible. I would probably, if you really want a firm deadline for submitting your financial statements, I would say submit your financial statements sometime in May. I would say May 15th. If you really want a date, May 15th, and then that way your app tracker will then allow you to submit your intent to enroll and then process your deposit. And then so that would happen, sooner rather than later. Again, this is really important for you all here, just because one of the things that this will then allow you to do is have one of those visa appointments sooner rather than later. And again, that's something that we would love for you guys to have that opportunity to do. So let me see, Kemi, are you on?
If they choose to defer, what's the deadline for deciding to defer? Can they wait
That's
until
a great question.
August 1st, or do they have to decide by July 1st?
Yeah, so, that's a really good question. I think that because of what's currently happening right now, a lot of what we're waiting for is really sometimes those visa interviews, right? I think that to be safe, I would say August 1st. That would probably signify if you have your appointment, if you don't have your appointment, if you have to defer, I would say August 1st is really a good key date to kind of keep in mind, because hopefully by then we know if embassies and consulates are open, so then that would allow you to then defer for another term as well.
And I think
Kemi, are you on? Oh, sorry.
For Kemi to go over CPT and OPT again and how that's affected
Absolutely.
by starting online in the fall, because I've seen a lot of questions about that. I know we already talked about it, but just in case someone signed on late. So just kind of going over what the implications of starting online would be for OPT and CPT, I think would be really helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you, Claire. Kemi, did you hear that question?
So just to go over the CPT and OPT portion again.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so hi everyone, my name is Kemi if you are just joining us. I did talk previously about CPT and OPT, but I'm back to answer questions. So if things don't improve around the world and travel is prohibited and you're not able to come to the US and you choose to study online for the fall 2020 semester, there are no implications if you do that on your CPT, because anything that you're doing from home you're not in F1 status when you're in your home country. You are just an IIT student that is taking classes online temporarily. Again, so let's say best case scenario, again, this is April 28th. Best case scenario, let's say a month from now, things start to get better. Travel is permitted around the world. You are able to book visa dates and can still come by the deadline of September 5th. Great. So if you start with us physically in fall 2020, and then you do fall full-time and spring 2021 full-time, you would be eligible to start CPT at the beginning of summer 2021. If, however, this pandemic continues and travel around the world is restricted by the Centers for Disease Control, or the US Department is not issuing visas as they used to, and you then take your classes online in fall for 2020, you would then be able to come in spring, which is January. At that time, you are going to have to do your spring 2021 and a summer 2021 semester full-time. So if you are a graduate student, that means you would be enrolled for 9 credit hours in the spring 2021 semester. You would be enrolled also for 6 credit hours for the summer 2021 semester. At that time, once you're done with your summer semester in August of 2021, you would be eligible for CPT. I saw a question earlier, someone asked about most internships are, in summer, and that's true. There are some times where we see some internships in the summer, but a lot of times too, we have students who do internships in the fall. So again, and keep in mind that the economy at that time will be recovering. A lot of companies and employers would be looking for talent around the US. So definitely, if unfortunately things don't get better till early next year, by the end of summer next year, the economy will be much better. A lot of companies and employers would be looking for talent from students, both domestic and international. So I am still optimistic that even if you had to do the fall 2020 online and then you're here for the spring and summer semesters, you can still start CPT in fall 2021. I think that's, like I said before, mid to late August 2021. You would be eligible then to do your, to start your CPT process. I hope that answers the questions about CPT, Claire or Sam.
No, I think, Kemi, that was really helpful. Thank you so much. I hope that clarified some of the things for you guys as students as well. I know that I've seen, a few questions saying that the India team has said that you need to deposit by May 3rd or at least confirm. And I think the reason why they have recommended that is I believe they're also encouraging students to take summer courses. So that's why that's an earlier deadline to the university. So that's just an update for those of you who might have been in contact with our team in India as well. I'm seeing a couple of questions about some of you guys already have visa appointments. That's great. I know that for us at the university, our intention is to have all of our students on campus on August 17th. And the reason why is, at least I would say the 16th, because the 17th is that SOAR date. Essentially, again, as of today, we know that our university is still going to be operating. In terms of what that means for you as an international student coming to campus, I think we really want to encourage you to at least try to get to campus. And I would say maybe a plan B for a lot of you are, if you can't get your appointment because your embassy is closed, or you just were not able to for whatever various reason, again, you can go online. And that is the option at the grad and undergraduate level as well. Claire, are there any other questions? I know that I'm seeing a lot of specific questions, and this is where I'm going to recommend to all of you guys that might have specific questions, maybe like an I-20 question or like how soon I receive an I-20. just for you all to know that, you know, we need your financial statements and your financial affidavit of support sent to us, and then we'll go ahead and issue you that I-20, and that's what you're going to use to get to the U.S. Embassy or Consulate for that interview.
And I've seen a lot of questions too, specific questions that people have about their scholarship, their finances, their TA position, their advisor or app tracker. And for those, please email grad.admission@iit.edu so we can look into your specific situation. Because right now we don't have access to everyone's information. So we'll need to have an enrollment advisor in grad admissions look into your specific case.
Yeah. I'm just also, thanks so much, Claire. Yes, for that clarification. Absolutely, guys. Grad data admissions, I think it's been shared before. Questions about if I defer in the spring, can I defer again in the fall of 2021? Our goal would hopefully be that you would have at least started classes at the university. So then that way you're working towards making sure that your degree is completed within, let's say, that 2-year time frame. Is the I-20 digital or physical? That's a great question. We actually are printing them out still. If you have heard messages that you can have an electronic I-20, just so you know, we as a university have just been printing them out, signing them with what we call a wet signature. So it's in blue ink. You'll see someone's signature on there, and we are still physically sending them out to students. I believe if in your country the mail has been stopped, we are holding them, and then as soon as the country and your mail system reopens, we're going to go ahead and send that as soon as possible. We're doing that on purpose because like Customs and Border Patrol, let's say you have that electronic one, that might not be accepted, and if you actually go to your U.S. Embassy or consulate in your country, they might not accept your electronic one. So that is why we're still working towards having paper wet signature I-20s. I saw a question for grad saying like, what is that accelerated decision day? Students are being specially invited based off of to interview and to meet with our teams at the graduate level. So that's a graduate level event. I highly encourage it. If you have not been able to speak one-on-one with one of our enrollment advisors, definitely be in contact with us.
Another question that I saw earlier was if a student starts classes fall 2020 online and then applies for the visa to come in spring, but that visa is denied, what would be the recommendation there? Should they apply again for the visa? What if it's denied again? Can they continue with online classes for spring? So just maybe elaborating a little bit on that.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is your goal is to come in the spring. Your visa was denied, let's say sometime in October to come. We would still work with you to try to figure out something in regards to how you can finish your degree at the university. I think that by that time, if you already have had online courses, you're already signifying to your consular officer at the U.S. Embassy or Consulate saying, look, my goal is to complete my degree from Illinois Institute of Technology. I've already completed, let's say, the maximum 9 credit hours online if you are a graduate student. And because of that, you're actually signifying to them, I've already made an investment in my education. I have already paid for some of my tuition, and I'm already, partially completing my master's or even my undergraduate degree. So in regards to what you need to do in that situation is be in contact with us. Let us know what's happening. You would also connect with your academic advisor. But our goal, again, going back to my slide where I said, hey, make sure that you don't give that visa consular officer a reason for you to say no, or for them to say no to you. That means you need to be prepared, answer everything truthfully. Again, dress the part, know that you're coming to Illinois Tech. If that means you want to even practice, if depending on what country you're in, we actually do have team members in India. We have team members in China. We have team members in Korea, and they actually work for Illinois Institute of Technology. So if you are maybe from one of those countries and you want to maybe practice how you would go through your visa interview. That's one thing. In addition to that, the Education USA centers are all over the world. You can actually connect with them as well. And I think that's very helpful because I think they can then encourage you. They actually have pre-departure orientations in country. So if you are maybe unfamiliar with, you know, what to expect in the visa interview, that's actually a really good resource. Again, they sit off from the university, but they are a partner that we work heavily with around the globe. And so definitely reach out to them. They have centers, they have comprehensive centers, they have other centers that are a little smaller, but they have an advisor in, I would say, more of the most populated cities around the world, or at least in your capital. Some of them require interviews, or I'm sorry, some of them require like a clearance to get in because some of them are located at the US Embassy. And that's actually information to you, is that some of these, a lot of these Education USA centers are actually housed by the Department of State in the United States. The Department of State is essentially that entity within the United States that grants you a student visa. So it only makes sense for you to be you know, aware of Education USA, work with them, let them know that I've been admitted, I'm interested in knowing about your pre-departure orientations, and then that would, I think, help you out. We have about 9 minutes, just so you all know, to answer questions. If we don't get to everything, we'll go ahead and you know, email us and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, and students can defer more than once. So let's say they defer to spring 2021, but then decide again to defer later to fall 2021, that's okay.
Yes.
Perfect. And then I see a lot of the same questions coming in that we've already answered, so we won't go over those again. And for any of you who maybe didn't hear the answer, you can always email us afterwards and then get that answer in writing as well.
I saw a question.
Can I take 3 credits from summer holidays if I'm not eligible for CPT after spring 2021? I've seen that question many times now, so we'll see if we can get an answer for that.
Kemi, did you hear that one?
Sorry, what was the question, Claire?
Can I take 3 credits in summer if I'm not eligible for CPT after spring 2021?
So again, to repeat what I said earlier, you would only be eligible for CPT in August 2021, contingent on the fact that you are physically in the US for spring 2021, you are enrolled for full-time courses in spring 2021, and you are also enrolled full-time for summer 2021. In the spring and the fall semesters, full-time for grad students is 9 credit hours, which is 3 classes. And for undergrad, it is 12 credit hours, which is 4 classes. In the summer, excuse me, the minimum that you can take for the summer are just 2 classes, which is 6 credit hours. So as long as you are enrolled, I'm not sure if the question was that clear, but I think this is what the person was asking. As long as you are enrolled both full-time for spring and summer 2021, excuse me, that is when you become eligible for CPT in August 2021.
Thanks, Kemi.
Sure.
Sam, for scholarships and TA positions that have been awarded, will those continue if a student decides to defer, or is that a case-by-case basis that a student should reach out to grad admissions for a specific answer on?
Correct. That would be case by case, and I believe you would actually be working specifically with the department, since a lot of the departments are the ones awarding you that funding. And in addition to that, you know, I think that, you know, they, being a TA or RA, would require usually people to be like on campus, and so I would highly recommend either connecting with the grad office and then also connecting with your academic advisor and the department that has already awarded you that position. I also, you know, just to throw this in, I saw questions about, is there full funding? There unfortunately is not full funding at the university, but we do highly recommend, you know, applying, submitting all of your documents, and then that way we can review you for admission to the university. I also saw another question in regards to interviews, and Yes, it is true that the fall 2020, we did not require a GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo English test was still required. And so if like the consular officer asks you, how come you don't have a GRE exam? I think that is, what you answer honestly, which is, the GRE was canceled in my country, but I was able to still apply to Illinois Institute of Technology. Even though, despite the GRE being canceled, I still took an English proficiency test, and here are my grades. And this is why, going back to be over prepared, make sure that you have everything, so that visa officer does not tell you no. And I think that's really important.
I saw a couple other questions as well that students were asking if they're starting online for fall 2020, what is this going to look like on their diploma when they graduate? Will it still be, regular Illinois Tech diploma, or will it somehow say like, oh, you did an online program? So maybe if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, you know what? No, it would not say online program. It would say Masters of Science in Computer Science from Illinois Institute of Technology. That would be what your degree reads. And that's essentially, I think, one of the most important things is that you are coming to a university that really has been able to be nimble and be able to be flexible for those students. Your transcripts will still say Illinois Institute of Technology, and I think that is a talking point that resonates around the globe and around the world. I think that our university has just so many international students, and we are world renowned for that reason. And so you should know that coming into Illinois Tech, even if we are online, you are getting an amazing degree. You are getting the experience and the knowledge in order to really elevate your career moving forward. And so I think that's actually a very good question. What is my transcript going to say? What's my diploma going to say? It's still going to say Illinois Institute of Technology. And, I think you should be very proud of that degree.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to summarize it. And just to clarify for anyone, I would also add that taking online classes for fall, it's still just the same credit hours and just the same classes as if you were on campus. It's not worth any less in terms of making completion towards your degree. So anyone who's worried about that, rest assured you're still getting the same education as you would being on campus. It just is through an online format. I saw a couple other questions asking if they choose to defer to spring 2021, but then decide that they actually can start in the fall, can they defer backwards as well?
That's so you're saying if they defer for the spring term is what you're saying, and then they decide, oh, I want to come in the fall.
Spring 2021 or fall 2021, but then decide like, no, wait a minute, I can actually start in fall 2020. Can they defer backwards, so to speak?
I don't want to. It isn't impossible to do that, but this is why I think our deadlines are very important. Our financial affidavit of support, if you are that graduate student, that is July 17th. And so I would hope that provides you enough time to say, I'm going to come to the university in the fall of 2020. And that this is essentially where I think it might be more case by case. It is possible, but we would want to make sure that we have provided you enough time to go, let's say, online courses, or if you are actually going to come to the country in August, let's make sure that we've cushioned enough time for you to maybe go and get your interview at the consulate or embassy.
Thanks, Sam. I also saw a couple questions asking if they're doing online classes, would that be live or would it be recordings that they can access at their convenience?
Kemi, do you want to take that one again? I know you addressed that earlier.
So hi everyone again. Classes will be taught live, but they'll be recorded. So if, let's say, you are able to join at 8 a.m. Chicago time, which is Central Standard Time, it would be live. However, given the time difference around the world, if you're not able to join online, that's okay, because all of your lectures will be recorded online and they will be available through Blackboard. So you will log into your portal and you will go to Blackboard and you would be able to see the recording of that class there. So depending on where you are in the world and if you can sync your schedule with when classes are going to take place, but you don't have to, because classes will be recorded for you to view online later. And I do also want to add that your advisors are reachable by email. So whereas their office hours may be done in Chicago time or in Central Standard Time, they will also be available for you via email so that you can get answers. I'm talking about your academic advisors and also your professors. You can still get answers to your questions to them via email.
Thank you. I think it's already 8 a.m. If you guys do have any other questions, we'll go ahead and address them via email. If you could get to the next slide, Rosa, I'm just going to remind you of what your next steps are. First of all, we have our COVID email. That is actually really important for you just to kind of know what's going on. And then that admitted student next steps if you are a grad or undergrad student. Our next slide includes Kemi and my information, so that way you can be in touch with us. Again, mine's sdeleon2@iit.edu, and then the Kemi's is Kemi Onajole at iit.edu. Feel free to, I guess, connect with us if we can't get your questions right away. Just so you know, the best thing to do is actually connect with our generic emails, which is grad.admissions or intl@iit.edu. Yep, perfect. If you guys can go ahead and put that in, that would probably be the best. And our last slide, if we can get to that, is the thank you. Really, I know that you have taken an hour out of your time to hear what's going on with Illinois Institute of Technology. And so we thank you so much for just taking this time to hear what's happening. Again, as Kemi and I and our team and our university know, everything is fluid, but we as a university want to ensure that you are making the best decisions moving forward. We as an institution want to make sure that you feel comfortable, confident, and know that you are coming to a world-class institution that is really going to help elevate your academic and career opportunities. And so, you know, from all of us, our team at Illinois Institute of Technology, thank you so much for joining us. And I think that's it. So please be well, everyone. Thank you to Kemi. Thank you to our team that's on helping us. And I wish you guys all the best of luck. And we really hope to see you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.